Oh, well, the butt could crack your little hammer. You better watch your mouth, Timberlake. You better watch your mouth, Timberlake. Well, the butt could crack your little hammer. You better watch your mouth, Timberlake. You better watch your mouth, Timberlake.
Going from slavery,
horrific and state-sanctioned prison labor system.
rented
A
out.
chapter of Houston area history was unearthed in recent years with the discovery of the Sugarland 95.
The Sugarland 95, the 95 bodies found under Fort Bend Independent School District's construction site, are not an inherently unique tragedy. In America, coerced labor, essentially slavery, did not end after the Emancipation Proclamation. Instead, we found new ways to continue to marginalize, disenfranchise, and strip African Americans of their humanity, the convict leasing system. But don't take our word for it. Here's Dr. Trisha Jack, leader of the FBIC task force and professor at HCC, with a long history of researching these topics to explain it for you.
You know, we tend to think of people that are in prison as bad people. And the reality is that these people that were targeted for convict leasing, most of them had committed very, very minor crimes. And the only reason they're being arrested is because of their labor, the demand for their labor, their demand to do that sugar and cotton work. And so Black activity is criminalized purposely. And you start to see a disproportionate number of the Black population being put in prison in Texas and really across the South, right? It's not just Texas, it's all of the former Confederate states. That more Black people than their percentage of the population are in the prison system, and they are working out on these farms where the public can see them, right? They go by and they can see them out in the fields working. And it starts to change your perception that you see, oh, look at all of these Black people in prison.
So, Dr. Jack, if this was such a widespread phenomenon, then I'd have been taught this, right? Well, I can't have been the only one. Okay, so have you ever heard about the Sugarland 95?
No, I don't think so.
No.
No.
No, I don't think so.
Have not.
No.
No. That's not good. But why?
I can answer that. Well, I know someone who can.
It did get a lot of press initially. There were a lot of news stories on the local news, and made some some kind of national news stories. And I think that national attention did pressure the local news to cover it a little bit more, but they were really just like short little blips on the news, and I don't think that there's been real sustained coverage of it.
So, it should have been a much bigger deal, right? To give you a picture of the backbreaking labor and inhumane conditions the country was built on, actually, we'll do you one better. We'll give you a video. Most Americans are aware of the harsh reality of slavery, though some seem to believe that states' rights were a more pressing political issue back then. Not as many Americans are aware of how slavery persisted in different forms, such as sharecropping and convict leasing. Laborers had to work during the hottest hours of southern days, picking crops. The physical labor irreversibly damaged their bodies, and they were controlled in all aspects, whipped, burned, and branded for reasons such as not meeting quota or looking at a white man the wrong way. I would say you get the idea, but it's hard to wrap your head around. It was unimaginably widespread and unimaginably cruel. It was upon this atrocity that this city was built on, that the entire South was built on. Don't ever get that twisted.
I almost wish I didn't know that.
Which is exactly the problem. Our country is built on this cruelty, yet no one wants to acknowledge it. People would rather talk about the good than talk about the bad. Sometimes, though, all it really takes is for construction workers to dig up human remains.
Are you really sure that's how it went?
Not really.
First, it was very unclear of what was found. So I remember they found like one, and then it was some time, and then they found like 5 more, and then 20 more. And so at some point, it just became all encompassing. Like I couldn't stop thinking about it and wondering, like, who are these people? Where are they from? How did they get there? How did no one know about them? And then once the archaeologists knew what they had, I was heartbroken. Because ultimately you have individuals who were left to be forgotten.
Oh wow.
I know.
Don't you think more people should know?
Probably.
What are we gonna do?
We have enough lines.
Hello? I'm in bed.
It's 3 p.m.
I'll tell you what it is. 95 bodies of African Americans that were victims of a continuation of slavery that took place within our prison system. They were worked to death and their remains were found at the James Reese Center. Again, I feel like not enough people know about this. What was FBISD like when all of this went down?
Things aren't that cut and dry.
Do you think FBISD wanted people to know about the uncovering?
Yes and no again, because the reality is that delaying the building of that school was really expensive to Fort Bend ISD and to Fort Bend taxpayers, which I'm one. I live in Fort Bend County, and you know the bonds that were passed to build that school, and then to have to halt and wait, and the kids that wanted to go to that school. So I think that there was probably some hesitancy because they knew it was going to delay everything.
My goodness, do people know about this? Who's gonna ask them? Oh, right. So do you think you were adequately informed about it?
No.
No? What about you guys?
I've heard of it. I didn't know what it was.
And you? Same.
No.
Thank you.
No, not at all.
Definitely not.
Oh yeah, actually I do remember hearing about that, yeah.
No, not really.
No? Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Not at all.
Perfect, thank you.
No.
Perfect, thank you.
Not at all.
Perfect, thank you.
These marbles could have had an impact. They could have spoken up. They could have used their voice in the democratic process. But regretfully, they didn't. Staying informed is as important as ever. We live in an age where the world's information is at our fingertips. It is therefore our collective responsibility to speak out for the voiceless, act for the helpless, and defend for the defenseless. It's our duty to preserve the integrity of our democracy.
This other shit, bitch.